Hello everybody, I'm Rokkit88, aka the Scream Queen, and welcome to the newest installment in Misogyny Month. While the last feature we looked at had pretty simple imagery that may or may not have been clever behind the scenes, today's film is anything but subtle in how smart it is. I made a reference to this movie in my comeback video, and it is with no small amount of pleasure that today I present to you. This is perhaps one of the greatest horror movies to never be seen. Unfortunately, this movie made almost no money during its meager release, even though the budget was minimal. I think Anchor Bay Entertainment was a bit too scared to promote it. The film got its theatrical release in 2007 when the Saw and Hostel sequels were big on the horror scene. And this is an unapologetic slasher film. No matter how clever the plot, behind the mask just didn't stand a chance. It got a bit of success on DVD, though. We begin with a little bit of creep factor as a young girl working late gets a fright, though we still don't know what we're in for as we switch immediately to a mockumentary format. It's clear from frame one of this part of the film that Scott Glosserman, the film's writer and director, was basically weaned on horror movies pretty much since birth. That is the actual Crystal Lake location from the first Friday the 13th film, and Kane Hodder, famed Jason portrayer, lending himself to a cameo going into 1428 Elm Street. I don't believe that's the actual house, though. These small Easter egg gems are littered throughout the whole film. This is Taylor, a documentary film student who's gotten wind of the next supernatural killer to step onto the scene and has agreed to document his climb to legend.
It was 20 years ago, at this now abandoned farm, where a boy, supposedly possessed by evil, was taken from his home by a frenzied mob and thrown over this waterfall, where he perished. That boy is about to seek revenge over the town that murdered him.
Though why in the hell she would ever want to do that is totally beyond me. In this universe, all things from Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, and Halloween actually happened and have since become a legend. And now it's Leslie Vernon's turn to take the helm. Neat fact, the shots in the mockumentary part of the film are made by the actual actors in the movie. That's Doug hogging the shot, which gets called out by his cameraman counterpart, Todd. And this is Leslie, of soon-to-be slasher fame. And there's just no other way to say it. Leslie is just a treasure. He's energetic, charismatic, and his presence on screen is just delightful. But Rokkit, you say. Didn't you say in your last video that villains aren't supposed to be three-dimensional and that too much backstory muddles the plot? Yes, I did. And I meant that. But that doesn't mean you can't enjoy the villain. Also, the mockumentary format in the movie allows us a bit of a peek behind the curtain, so it feels honest and not terribly forced, and we don't know all that much about Leslie except that he's planning on stalking and killing a bunch of teenagers. We get a look at Leslie's house where he curiously has pet turtles, the idea being that if they die, he can just eat them. We see his library where he has years of books of research, anatomy, magic tricks, and so on, and we see a bit of a preparation he has to take.
You have no idea how much cardio I have to do. It's ridiculous.
Why so much?
Well, you gotta be able to run like a freaking gazelle without getting winded. Plus, there's that whole thing of making it look like you're walking, and everybody else is running their asses off.
Oh, right.
And I gotta stay with them.
Yeah.
It's tough, man. It's tough.
And now a little piece of my world makes sense. He also takes the Scooby Gang on a little jaunt to the local high school to get a gander at the kind of kids that make up your typical slasher horror trope. You've got your stoners there, a few jocks and their girlfriends, and then there's a survival girl, the virgin. And then we're officially introduced to Kelly, the actual virgin Leslie has picked out. Taylor wants to interview her, but Leslie shuts that shit down pretty quickly.
Can we talk to her?
No. No way. Okay, I'm sorry, but there is no wiggle room on this. She is off limits.
Okay.
We learned that he and Taylor were the ones that pulled off the little scare we saw earlier in order to set the stage for what's to come. which is a little uncool, but given what's going on, it's actually rather harmless in the grand scheme of things. He also takes the film students to meet Eugene, his mentor. And yes, that is Scott Wilson, who is very effectively menacing. And his wife is just a doll, so it's a little hard to figure those two.
There's always been hacks out there. People mucking it up. One-hit wonders who make a bloody mess of some sorority somewhere, get killed or arrested, and never put it together again. Makes it bad for all of us. It just cheapens it.
I would not trust that guy around me with a knife. Eugene has a great little monologue about why slasher killers do what they do, and we get a little more insight into the slasher process.
The business of supernatural killing sprees.
A fear. Every culture, every civilization from the dawn of man has had its monsters. For good to be pitted against evil, you have to have evil, don't you? You got your red herring all worked out?
I think so. She spends a lot of time at the library, so I was gonna do it there.
She knows a janitor or somebody?
Do you want to walk us up?
Leslie, what's a red herring?
It's a preliminary strike involving Kelly indirectly.
Strike, meaning the first person you're gonna kill.
Okay, he's completely full of shit. But hold that thought, brain's thinking. We get to the library where Leslie has a few more tricks up his sleeve, including a cameo by Zelda Rubinstein and bounding around the library as if he was an actual gazelle.
Leslie!
No more. It ends here.
Hold the phone? Christ on a cracker, that's mother freaking Robert Englund. Yeah, no joke. This is the first script he's seen in years that got him off the bench and back into horror, which again says a lot for the film's writer-director. It's actually pretty unclear whether or not Leslie kills the librarian since we never see him move his arm. For all we know, Zelda Rubinstein fainted. He throws a few more scares Kelly's way, and then...
Oh, he shot you?
Yeah, right in the shoulder.
That's your first one. Does it hurt?
Oh, no, it feels all right. I was wearing a vest. It's fine. There he is.
I'll beat to him. Doc hollering. It looks like you got your Ahab.
Okay, and Ahab, in this context, is a reflection of everything that is good in humanity. Someone who is willing to defend others against evil, even at a great personal cost. He knows what I am. He knows what I'll be doing. He will stop at nothing to try and stop me.
So Robert Englund is the film's Dr. Loomis. And that is a pretty rare thing, since Loomis is actually the only example of an Ahab in horror films that I can think of. I can think of way more red herrings. Yeah, that scene is still weighing on me. Taylor decides to break protocol and approach Kelly, getting Doc Holleran's full attention.
His name is Leslie Mancuso from Reno, Nevada. You have no idea who you're dealing with.
He's still a threatening force. Back to the plot, he drops the dime on Leslie, but that's not nearly as concerning as Leslie finding out that there was a breach.
Again?
Get in the van.
Ever live in Reno, Leslie?
That's enough.
This is when Leslie is actually very creepy. In the previous scene in the library, he's stalking Kelly in costume. It's pretty generic and you can't see his face. However, in this scene, you get a full glimpse of the psycho here, and it's actually pretty jarring, and therefore much more effective. After coming clean that he's not the boy from the local legend, Leslie offers Taylor and the gang an out. But Taylor decides...
You know what? This is what I've chosen to do, so... Let's see it through.
Yeah, sweet. You're staying.
I wouldn't be surprised if the actor playing Leslie wasn't just trying to not laugh with that little rhyme scheme. Then things get really interesting.
You want to limit your time inside as much as possible. Restricts your mobility. That's rule number one. Nobody gets away. She's empowering herself with cock.
And the smaller ones I've pre-cut just like at the shed, so any weight will bring the whole works crashing down. I have the main fuse rigged up to cut the power. Of course, one of the first reactions will be to go for the flashlights in the kitchen. I put dead batteries in all them, so... Tonight?
Yeah.
It's gonna hurt somebody. All the obvious weapons right up front, I've sabotaged.
Sort of seems like cheating.
Well, now she just sounds like a whiny Dead by Daylight player.
I need to stay focused.
On Kelly? You love her, don't you?
I love the idea of her. I'm so happy.
This is a pretty elemental moment. There is real chemistry and connection between these two characters. It seems very genuine, and that kind of starts to confuse the narrative a bit. Also, it's pretty clear that this guy is about to start killing innocent kids. And then he does.
Spark plug, somehow I just don't feel like getting run over tonight. You know what I mean? The Jocko kid and his hot little cheerleader number should be coming up here any minute. I usually give them a little bit of time to get their business going. Go now!
Why are you doing this?
Because you have a look.
What look?
The we can't just stand here and let this happen look. I would have ended up here no matter what. I made a choice. To provide a counterbalance to all those things that we hold good and pure. You chose journalism, okay?
Goodbye, Leslie.
So they part ways, and I know you're thinking exactly what I'm thinking. And the answer to your question is no. That is absolutely not where this ends. Of course, Leslie was right about Taylor's look as we switch from mockumentary to standard format. And I am going to miss this because from here on in, it's a true slasher movie. They talk to the stoner kids, looking for Kelly, go upstairs and realize...
Ah, who the fuck are you? Get the fuck out!
she's not a virgin. And now I feel like everybody is screwed. We get some pretty standard horror stuff. Leslie attacks the kids in the basement, the girl survives and runs upstairs, causing a panic. Kelly's boyfriend is sure it's a prank. Taylor and crew witness the two stoners getting killed before going into the shed, and then they're able to convince everybody to leave.
Our fucking tires are slashed on all our cars.
Yeah, but our van isn't.
Hey guys, let's go. Quiet! God, it's not gonna start. God damn it!
Spark plug, somehow I just don't feel like getting run over tonight.
So he knew the film crew was going into the house to save the kids. They end up running back into the house and up the stairs, the argument there being that if they stay in the house and together, they can throw off Leslie's plan. They can't let him find out that Kelly's a slut, or they're all gonna die.
Kelly! No!
That's out of the bag now.
Yeah, what Todd said. He tries to lead Leslie away to give the others a chance to escape, but...
Come on!
Aw, I liked him too. So we get to what apparently all this has slowly been building up to.
He knew. He knew before we started, before we even met.
It's you. You're the virgin.
Okay, let's back up a bit. Remember how much this scene bothered me?
I will.
Leslie, what's a red herring?
It's a preliminary strike involving Kelly indirectly.
He's lying in the scene, but he's lying to Taylor specifically. A red herring is a misdirect in a narrative. When Eugene brings it up, Leslie switches tracks. At first I thought that was Doc Halloran, but he's actually the Ahab. Then I thought that because Leslie uses the conversational switch in front of Eugene that he was going to be the red herring. But no, the red herring he was actually talking about earlier was Kelly. The conversation got switched to the preemptive strike because Taylor doesn't know any of this, so she was no more the wiser. It's really clever. Confusing, but clever. Sorry, I got off track. That had to be a psychologically satisfying moment. Well, the other kids are as good as dead, but Dr. Halloran does come to in time to give Taylor and Doug a chance to escape.
Say I love her. You gotta go through me.
Doug's obviously not dead, and I wonder if Leslie spares him because he loves Taylor too, although that does conflict with rule number 1. It's time for Taylor to make the transition from victim to hero and wrap this up. And I can't believe she picked a weapon she knows to be rigged, or that it doesn't break when she pulls off this little badass move.
Come get some.
So Taylor faces Leslie down, literally with his own weapon, empowering herself, like he so significantly talks about in the mockumentary setup. The cider press does its thing, taking Leslie out for good, and Taylor, traumatized, burns the shed, Leslie, and his weapon.
Is he?
I don't know what he is.
Just a man. He's just a man.
It's proper fucking England. Of course he didn't die. Come on, son. And that's the end. Or is it? Well, it is for now. According to IMDb, there is a sequel in development as we speak, with the surviving cast set to reprise their roles. And now the misogyny. It's a slasher movie, so there is a lot of it, but it has a very simple analytic. This is the Madonna horror complex. Madonna horror is the idea that women can either be the Madonna, chaste and pure, or the whore, sexual and debased. But there can't be both attributes present. It's totally an either-or scenario. Leslie does have a kind of love for Taylor, but it's because she's the virgin, the Madonna. He's revering her. But when she makes the victim to heroine switch, that's the sign of her becoming a woman. Like he says,
She's empowering herself with cock.
I love that clip. When she makes that leap, he's no longer seeing a Madonna. He's seeing the whore. Now they can have their confrontation and only one of them is allowed to emerge victorious. It's rather chauvinistic, but it's a slasher movie and that's just how the game's played. I can't recommend this movie enough. It's very clever, shows a lot of respect for the horror genre, and it is so much fun to watch, especially Leslie. He's great. And this film deserves more credit, damn it. And that's it for this installment of Misogyny Month. Please join me next week for the next installment as we dive right back into this controversial topic. If you liked the video, slash that like button and spread the love. Do you think I missed the mark on this one, or is there something else you think I missed? If so, leave a comment and lay it on me. If you want to see the next video of Misogyny Month, do subscribe and ring that bell. Until then, I'm Rokkit88, aka the Scream Queen, blasting off in 3, 2, 1.